Could the Pac-12 not have had USC and Colorado play this past weekend?
I mean, that's what we were saying big time, because you knew what you were going to get, especially when they moved it back that extra day. You knew what you were going to get with Washington State. It feels like Washington State's kind of running out of steam a little bit. They've been hit by COVID really bad, and they've had just a really tough kind of up and down. When they played Oregon, they actually were looking pretty good, but the wheels are starting to fall off there. It was not a good game. It was a good game for USC for just putting one of those things on the board for them, but it would have been fantastic for the conference to see really what you get with Colorado. You don't really know. They're still in transition, but they look really ahead of schedule. And then with USC as a team that everybody loves to hype to beginning of the year, because they know USC. They're familiar with USC. They have tradition. And they have great recruits. Don't get me wrong. But we were at the USC game last year, and the discontent with Clay Helton and that coaching staff is severe. Those fans down there are very upset with him. So every game he wins, they're kind of upset. They want a new regime in there. They want something different because they know what they have is a sleeping giant at USC.
Yes, they do. And just to get back to my point, so if certain people aren't familiar, USC and Colorado were scheduled 2 weekends ago. The game was canceled, and they're the two undefeated teams in the division. So there's going to be a strange tiebreaker system that's going to elevate USC into the championship game, but not based on real results on the field, which drives me crazy when the two teams could have played. Now, last weekend, USC played this game against Washington State. Arizona played Colorado.
Right.
So you're not even messing up a division game. I could understand it if Arizona or Washington State had a division game that you would be messing up by switching it. But you're just changing their non-division game is basically what you're doing by having Arizona play Washington State. And then you've got USC and Colorado matched up to decide the division.
Right. And like you said before, I mean, you don't need 12 years to set these games up if you're doing it 48 hours in advance almost on some of these weekends. I tend to think the Pac-12 leadership is the biggest question mark of it all. I think there's some major discontent out here on the West Coast around who's running this thing and how they're running it, from the referees, from who's running the refs, to the transparency between that. There's been a lot of question marks across the board. I am happy that they got a season together. I am happy that they got the situation with the testing and everything else up on board so that they could go through and follow through, because the state standards out here are very strict that they have to accompany to. So I do feel like they got a couple wins there, but the way that this conference is run, there's a lot of question marks out there. It looks like from our perspective right now that USC is the team that the national media will get behind in these last couple of weeks and say, hey, what about them? If they go undefeated, then you're going to have national media start to turn around and say, but what about the West Coast? Very different than any other team outside maybe Oregon. There's just not that much cachet for the Pac-12. Even a team like Washington has to really fight through it nowadays to get the kind of respect that they would need or deserve nationally.